All right. I am. Is this working? Oh, don't tell me the sound's low. Please tell me the sound's working. I hope it is. All right. I'm doing the stream for a couple reasons. One, because I'm trying to test out this software. I've got this little Chromebook here, and I've attached Logitech camera to it, and I've got the Blue Snowball microphone hooked up to it, and I'm trying to see if this works as a streaming solution, just as a basic streaming solution, because I've got a project in the works. Don't want to get into all the details now, but I want to test out this setup, this hardware setup, see if it works. So anyway, in order to test that, I decided to do a stream here answering some questions that have come up recently about PCN podcasts. Pop Culture Network has a handful of podcasts on a bunch of different channels, whatever. And some questions have popped up recently about how we deal with all this stuff and why certain shows went away and, what happened to some of these people and whatever. So, as it stands right now, the ongoing continuing podcasts on Pop Culture Network are Fans of Power, Beyond Retro, Comic Book Chronicles, and Transitional Champion Podcast. So those are the four technically that are still going on. Now, Transitional Champion Podcast is irregular. Yeah, I guess would be the ear. It's an ear, not an irregular podcast. So what that means is we did it every week from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. But now that the road to WrestleMania is over, it is only when there's going to be a pay-per-view event. And of course, they canceled the last one, the Backlash, I think it was. They canceled Backlash, and so we didn't do one then. So the next one will be after Money in the Bank, sometime that week. And that's just the nature of that show. It's just weird that way. We designed it to be weird that way, and that's the way it is. Comic Book Chronicles is done in conjunction with theclicknation.com. And so it is actually streamed through the ClickNation YouTube account, and then posted on popculturenetwork.com as video only. We don't link in the audio feed because that is all handled through the Cold Slither Podcasting Network, and we let them take care of all that. And so we are, part of the team, so to speak, in putting it together and putting it out there. So I'm on the show quite often. I should be on there every week, but stuff comes up and whatever. But nonetheless, that is every Thursday night, and then we do the occasional special edition. They call it a Treasury edition, talking about the latest, the big Marvel movie was the last one that we did. So, of course, for Endgame. Beyond Retro is on their own channel. Fans of Powers is on its own channel. Now, Beyond Retro is always streamed live on their own channel, and then we duplicate the feed audio onto Podbean and iTunes and whatever, and then that ends up on the Pop Culture Network page. But if you want to see the video, you have to go to the Beyond Retro or go to popculturenetwork.com, and you can find it posted there. And then Fans of Power, kind of hard to follow around, I know. It was hosted on this channel for a long time live, and then they were like, hey, can we start our own channel? Do you mind if we, move it over and do our own thing? And I was like, that's great. Go ahead, knock yourself out. I don't want to stand in the way of your being able to develop your own show. So they set up their own channel, Fans of Power, and that's where they stream it live. And then again, it's posted, the video and audio are posted on our website, and the audio that we put out gets sent off into iTunes and Google Play, and I don't know, wherever all it goes, and then ends up back on the Pop Culture Network YouTube channel as the audio stream only. If you want to see the video, again, go to popculturenetwork.com or go to the Fans of Power site. So those are the four that are going on right now. So the question that came up is, what happened to some of the other shows? We used to do the Lucky Legends podcast, and that was Aaron Johnson as part of the Lucky Legends Facebook group. What happened to that show? Why don't we host it anymore? Because he stopped doing it. That's the easiest thing about that one. He just didn't have the time anymore. He tried it. He thought it was fun. He really enjoyed doing it, but it got to the point where he just didn't have enough time with everything else that he was doing to keep it going. So he just let that one drop. And that's his call. It was his show. So that's just what happened to Lucky Legends. And then Masters of the Galaxy. So what happened with Masters of the Galaxy? Okay, so for those who have been watching Fans of Power for a long time, know that Brian Ozone was originally part of Fans of Power with Joe Amato. Then eventually Brian Ozone split off to make Masters of the Galaxy as his own show, and Joe kept Fans of Power as his own show. And those two, it's not that they didn't get along necessarily, but it's the other people that they wanted to get involved in the show they didn't also always see eye to eye on. And Brian Ozone wanted to talk more about the collecting of the weird stuff and what you bought, and hunting stuff down and shopping and going to conventions and all of that. And Joe wanted to do more of talking about the toys and the comics and the cartoons, and bring up the characters, not necessarily the figures always, talking about the action figure, but talking about the character behind it, doing that kind of stuff. So, they just saw things a little bit differently. And so Ozone split off and did his. Now, Ozone had a Facebook group called Masters of the Galaxy, and it's a buy-sell trading group. You can go in there and sell your figures and look at what other people are selling and whatever. So he took that name, Masters of the Galaxy, and started doing the podcast. Well, after a while, he kind of decided that he wanted to do the podcast as a live Facebook event for his Facebook group. And it's the same thing Aaron Johnson was doing. Aaron Johnson was doing it for a long time as a live Facebook event. And then we were pulling it off as a podcast. Brian Ozone started doing that, pulling it off as a podcast. But then eventually he decided he just wanted to control it completely. And he asked if he could just take the show. And we said, yeah, of course, because it's your show. What we do here at Pop Culture Network is that if you want to do a show, we let you do it as long as there's a smidgen of quality and it's not full of obscenities and you're not, condemning people to death and, whatever, then great, fine. So what we allowed him to do was he had the group. He took the show, the very last episode, we posted, and then we did another post saying the show is moving to Facebook, and we wish him all the best in his future endeavors, whatever, the WWE speak. We didn't fire him. He didn't quit in protest. He just wanted to take control of it and see what he could do on his own. So all the best to him. So we just let that go. Some of the other stuff, Operation Retro Shock was a show we had on here for a long time. They just decided they wanted to do that show on their own. Again, they wanted to take more control of it and try to work it into their own thing. And I think they may have started a website or a Facebook group. I'm not sure exactly. They asked if, again, sure, it's your show. We gave them an outlet to help build the show, but then they were ready to go off on their own, so they took it. There was another one. There's another Masters one we had several years ago with Chris Vent. I don't remember what it's called now. But again, it was the same thing. He just wanted to take control of it. We said, sure. We did It Figures for a long time, which was the toy and action figure podcast. And that there were a lot of reasons why that fell apart. But that was also one of those things where a lot of the people involved they had other stuff they wanted to do and left and moved on. And it really came down. It was just me and Killen most of the time. And we weren't as enthusiastic about a lot of the stuff that we would normally talk about on there. So we just let that one die, quite honestly. Excuse me. I'm trying to think of what some of the other podcasts were, but so that's generally what happens is the people involved decide that they want to do something else, or they want to have more control of it themselves, and we don't stop people. Now we hate to see a show die, and if it's a show that we had come up with and a person leaves, then we try to have someone come in and kind of take over with some of that stuff. So like Formers Friday, that show still continues on the Pop Culture Network, even though it's gone through 4 or 5 different people at this point. And I even fill in every so often when the geek, can't do it. So it, sometimes if we know that there are other people that want to get involved and the person doing it wants to step away, then sure, we'll let someone else fill in. When it comes to a show that's someone else's idea, a lot of times we have people come to us and say, I'd like to do a podcast, I just don't know how. Or I have this idea for doing a show, but I don't want to just do it myself because no one's gonna find it. Can you help me out? And sure. We'll put it on here. We'll help out with figuring out and get the feet underneath it and get it moving. And then if they decide they want more control, they want to set up their own website. They want to, they've done it long enough that they've picked up the idea and they want to kind of run with it on their own. We'll let them do that. Now, like with Fans of Power and Beyond Retro, with those are under Joe and Nathan and Tyler's control. So they run that, they own that. But it's still, they still work with us. They still send it to us for us to put on the website and distribute and everything like that. So, and I have no problem, doing that with them. I love that they want to take more ownership of it, because then it shows that they're really invested in the idea and they like the idea, and that's great. So, I mean, that's just kind of what's going on. And I bring that up because some weird stuff happened in the last week or so. And we had issues with people who used to work for the site that suddenly decided after 8 years they wanted to cause problems, which was so glad that happened, and then there were some other weird things that happened. I don't know that I want to necessarily get into all the details, but some of the stuff happened publicly. And so, we just had to address some of it, and that opened a lot of questions and people wondering what happened to some of the shows and why did we quit doing them and who got fired and what. And honestly, in the entire run of Pop Culture Network, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't know that we've ever fired anybody. We've had lots of people quit. We've had lots of people that just said, I'm tired, I don't really want to do it anymore, or they just wanted to do their own thing, or they had been doing toys for a long time and they realized that they really wanted to talk about movies, so they just wanted to go off and do something with movies, or whatever. They wanted to go some other way. But people who write monthly columns, who want to do a podcast, who want to do some sort of video cast or whatever, we just let them do it. Sure, great, whatever. Again, as long as it's not, foul and it's not made just to attack other people or whatever, then we figure why not. So, keeping that in mind, I just wanted to do this live stream to test out the equipment on this computer. This is a Chromebook, a very low-end Chromebook. This is a Logitech. What is this, a 930 on here? 920 or 930? I don't know if I can, it doesn't matter. And then the Blue Snowball. I just wanted to see how they all work. I know Chromebooks for a long time couldn't handle, USB accessories, but that may have ended in like 2015 or something. I don't know. But like I said, I have a project in mind and I just wanted to try this stuff out and see if it works. And hopefully the sound is coming through okay. I had some problems with the Snowball earlier, so hopefully the sound is good on this. But again, if you ever have any other questions, you can always email me, dirt@popculturenetwork.com. Don't use Twitter. I don't use Twitter really anymore. You can find Facebook. There's the official Pop Culture Network group on Facebook. You can always go in there, ask questions and make posts, whatever. And if you've got an idea, you think maybe you have a podcast idea, you'd like to sit down and try to figure out how to make it work, let me know and we can probably figure something out. So anyway, that's all, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time. And I want to end stream. Are you sure you want to end the stream? Yes, that's why I hit end stream. Why are you asking?